thought forms. Where I'm going to tell you a story, something. It's a book I read, but I don't even know the title or whatever it was. But I was intrigued that you can create a thought form, and it can become so real that someone else can actually see it. So I would what I would do, get a silver dollar, and I put it, initially this is how I started. I put a silver dollar on my on the table here. I looked at it and I looked at it, and all of a sudden it's in my mind's eye. So I turn around and I can still see the silver dollar in midair. But what I want to do is I want to be able to do this and see if somebody else can see the silver dollar that's not there. Just my thought form putting it. So when I was on lecture tour, I had time sometime during the day to be by myself. And this particular day, I felt I was sitting in a park bench, and there was behind it there was a mall for shopping, and there were people going back and forth and back and forth. So what I did, and all you can do is close your eyes, and you can make it a bird or you can make it anything, but this silver dollar is what I wanted to do. Now I see the silver dollar, and I mentally put it on the sidewalk. After it's on the sidewalk, and I can see it even with my eyes closed, then you can open your eyes. You can open your eyes, and you can look around, and you can observe the people. And it's still there to me in my mind's eye. Now, will somebody else see that? They go back and forth and back and forth. All of a sudden, a woman comes with a little boy, I'd say about a 2 or 3 year old little child, and he must have been very, very tired of being in his cart, because he was hanging onto the cart, and they were really slowly walking. And when they came to where the silver dollar was, this kid, his eyes lit up, and he reaches down, and he keeps going like this. And his mother said, "What are you looking at, honey?" And he goes, "Nothing." "Well, honey, there's nothing there. There's nothing there." And he's trying to pick it up because he sees it. And then all of a sudden, she says, "Nothing there, honey, let's go." And she's pushing him on, and he looks back at me and sort of grins and goes back. Now, I'm excited about that. Oh, God, I'm excited about that. It's the most wonderful thing. And then I thought, well, I would like an adult. See if there are any adults. So I just sat there and none. Now, this is an all-day session here. It was probably an hour or two later. I'm that silver dollar, and they just pass it by. Some people look where they go, and some not. All of a sudden, there's an elderly man that comes, and he's walking very slowly, probably before his walk for the day. And all of a sudden, he looks down, and he starts smiling. He did not pick it up, but he kept smiling. And all of a sudden, he goes by it, and he said, "I know what you're doing." And he says, I don't recall the words that he said, "I know what you're doing, and it's fine," or whatever, and walked off. So again, this tells me maybe the elderly and the very young have this capability. But at the time I did it, I was not young or elderly. I was in between. So my theory is you can do it if you choose to. You can start out on the tea table at night, and you can put maybe dice there, or maybe some item there, whatever. And if children are coming in, you have grandchildren maybe, or neighbor children, go ahead and see if they can see it, if they try to pick it up. Something, if it's a toy, a red toy or something that attracts this child. And I said, that would be fantastic. Then you would know this child can see in another dimension. There are many, many children that cry at night and say there's a boogeyman there, or there's somebody in my room, etc. And we have some pretty good classes now at the colleges that investigate a little more thoroughly on this. Its credibility, and they are finding that it has credence, because this can happen. But that was my research therapy. And it seemed like after I do it, after I read something, and then I do it, and then I let it pass. I mean, I'm not going to keep doing it over and over and over again. I let it pass. I think, okay, I mastered that, but what useful purpose does it serve? Unless it amuses me or entertains me. And then if it comes up again, I may do it again. I'm doing it with my grandson. Well, of course, he's only a year old, but I'll work with that and see what happens there. So that's an exciting part. Now, another part that I'd like to share with you, and this was a group of people. We had about 6 or 7, and this is a studio sort of a setup. And as I said, I experimented with so many things, so many people, I didn't even keep track of it. It was just one thing right after the other. But we were asked, through six of us, to create a thought form. And this was in Dallas. And we created a thought form, and then they had, we sat there and had fun. We had him 6 feet tall. He's got a British accent. He's got one brown eye, one blue eye. And what I said, what kind of a profession should he have? And we'll just give it to him. And just really, really making him handsome. And so we had to leave the room completely and get out and read something else and take our minds off of it. And then the psychics, three, but 2 of them were good psychics. They came in and sat there, and they had to write down what they had seen. 2 of them were on target. The other would just had little fleeting things. But these 2 said, he's British. They gave him an accent. He's got a brown eye and a blue eye. And he was an architect or whatever we said. And so we then questioned, always question, did they read our minds? We didn't telepathically, deliberately communicate. But they could have read our minds, but they saw the person. That's another experiment. Sometimes it takes a little longer, and what I say is if it's important enough, do it. If it's not, go on to something else that you're interested in. But in that period, I was interested in it, and then I research it. When I have physical challenges, I have my own doctor, and he's a thought form. I'll lay it on the line right away. He's a thought form, because I can already see him. Because the typical doctor to me is in a white coat. He's has gray hair and little glasses and a stethoscope hanging here. That's the typical doctor. So that's what he looks like to me. And when I have a physical challenge, I say, oh, doctor, come on in. And when he comes in, and I create him, and then I communicate with him. All right, now I question, is there another being that has taken over temporarily and gives me the answers, or do I get my own answers? I don't know, but whatever I get makes sense, and I follow it. And when I had major surgery, he made more sense than two physical doctors did. So I rely on him constantly. To this day, he's around when necessary. And so I listen to him. I mean, you know, we need to have different opinions, and all the opinions I have, I think he's the smartest. Is it me? Is it thought form? You beat it. You make up your mind. And you create a thought form that's very simple. I did research in England for 3 weeks. I sat in seance rooms specifically because these beings would appear to me with a message. sometimes they would just float around if someone came in. So now I want to know, are these thought forms I create by association, or are they coming in on their own volition? And if they are, is there a message entailed? What's going on? My husband went with me, and he went to look. He has his interests were elsewhere. So I would faithfully go up to this place. And incidentally, if you're ever in England, 34 Belgrave Square, it is this spiritual frontier association, and it's still there. And you can go there. When I went there, I had to pay $2 when I got into the door, and she said, which medium do you want to sit with? And so you had a choice. I didn't know what, and she says, well, why don't you go with Veronica? She's on the second floor, and in a half-hour situation. And you go up there with your ticket, and somebody takes it in, and then you're in this room with just a round circle with chairs, and then in a few minutes this medium comes out and sits there and then closes her eyes. And if you've seen it on television, what is this man called, John or whatever his name is? I don't even recall, because to me I'm jaded and it's not interesting anymore. But she would come in and she said, I have a message from Martha today. Martha, Thomas is with you, and he has a message for you. Okay. All right, listen. That electric bill will be taken care of. Don't worry about that. Okay? The flowers we planted for you, they're blooming. Yes, it's our anniversary. I'm waiting for you, Martha. That was it. Behind the medium, I see a little man smoking a pipe, and I see the smoke coming up. I actually can smell the smoke, and it was very pleasant, very pleasant. And that was my first medium I went to. Okay, after you have this seance or whatever, you can go downstairs and they have a tea room. And in the tea room, these women come down, mostly women, and they converse like, Harry talked to me, you know, what did Harry say, etc. So I gravitate to the one, and that is, I was interested in. And then she tells me, I said, did you see your husband? No, but I know he was there. And she said, my flowers are growing. You want to come home and see the bush he planted? And this is in the winter, and it's in full bloom. And I thought, all I could think of when I see things like that, I would think of how much energy you were putting into this. The medium could see her husband. She couldn't. But the medium could, and knew that now she was picking her brain, picking up her mind, and conveying it, and she's in hog heaven because she has a message from Harry, you know. And it's all what I would say, her thoughts. So she created this thought form.